The month is officially over, and that means it's time for a wrap up. Hi, hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Alex, and today is the May 2024 wrap up. So all the books I read in May, plus the ratings. I actually had a really good month for May. Like, the reading was pretty good. I only had one book that I was just so on the fence about, but we'll get into it. I wanted to do more reading in May, but I just couldn't. I really just couldn't get any more in there. You know what I mean? I was just jam-packed with work, and I just didn't have as much time as I wanted. And like I said last week, I had like a lot of stuff I still needed to get done in May that I was just sort of scrambling to do. And then we were traveling. It was just a lot. It was just a lot, but May is over and we're into June, and that means I get to tell you all about the books I read in May. Before we get into it, make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week, and all we do on this channel is talk about books. So if you like listening to people talk about books, here I am every week doing just that for you. Let's go over my rating system real quick before we start. 5 stars means best of the best. Obviously, I loved it, and I'll recommend it to anybody and anybody. Like, no notes, you know. 4 stars means I still really liked it, but I did have some issues, like maybe the pace wasn't that great, maybe I had trouble with one of the characters, something. It wasn't perfect, but I still liked it. 3 stars means I didn't like it, but it was a subjectivity issue, which means I probably just wasn't the right reader for this book. Somebody else might enjoy it, but it wasn't really for me. There was nothing really wrong with it, except that I was just the wrong audience for it. 2 stars means I didn't like it, it had real issues, and I probably won't recommend it. 1 star means worst of the worst. I absolutely hated it. I will never recommend it, and I probably won't even read the author ever again. Okay, let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. Okay, the first book I read in May was A Worthy Opponent by Katee Robert. Y'all, I did it. I finally read this book. I know, okay? The reason, if you're just now tuning in, if you're new here, whatever, this book has been on a maybe series for like 5 or 6 months or something like that. It has been on so many maybe series, and I don't know why I kept putting it off, but I finally read it. Y'all, I loved this book. I'm like so mad that it took me so long to get to it. Okay, this is book 3 of the Wicked Villains series. If you don't know what the Wicked Villains series is, then I'll tell you. It is basically Disney princess villain gets the girl or person. Like, there's lots of mixing in here. And this one is about Hook and Tinkerbell. And okay, I've told you guys that Learn My Lesson was really, really good. No, this one was better than Learn My Lesson. Like, I'm almost sad that I gave Learn My Lesson 5 stars, because this one was so much better than Learn My Lesson. It blew me away. First of all, we actually have like a decent plot line for this one, where the other ones were kind of, I don't know, just really smut heavy. I mean, this does have a lot of smut in it, okay? But I liked the plot line of this one a lot. And since we've seen Tink in the other books, I felt like I knew her a little bit better, but we literally never met Hook before, besides just like in passing. And so this was so exciting to see like a brand new character. On top of that, we had so many new characters coming in, like a huge influx of characters for the other books that were coming in, like coming up after this one. And it was so exciting to see so many new faces on the page, instead of it just being, you know, the people from the previous books that we've already worked with. Just a huge influx of new people, and it made me really excited for what's to come after this book. So yeah, I loved it. I'm so mad I waited so long, because this one so far is the best one. Like, I really liked Desperate Measures, but this one I loved. I will probably reread this one. That's how much I liked it. Obviously I give it 5 stars. Highly recommend. If you've not started the Wicked Villains series, I think it's great. I think it's great if you're like a Disney fan, like, you know, kind of the plot line, so then it like goes hand in hand with that. And yeah, it's just everything I never knew I wanted. Yes, this one. The next book I read in May was Yerba Buena by LaCour. Oh my gosh. To follow up the Worthy Opponent book with this book was just like beautiful, because this was also everything I didn't know I wanted. A little backstory before I start talking about the book. Nina LaCour mostly writes YA books, okay? This is her first adult novel. Oh my gosh. She knocked it out of the park. I loved this. I absolutely loved it. Like, if Nina LaCour ever sees this, please write more adult novels, okay? Because this was perfection. Let's get into the premise. So we have two women that are in very different places in their life, and yet in the same place. They're in the same place and time in their lives when they meet each other. We have one woman that is really found herself in her career. She had a really rocky childhood, but now she's kind of like rebuilt herself, and she loves the life that she's leading right now, even though her past keeps tugging her back. And then we have another woman who really can't find her spot in her life. She's constantly searching for what feels right, and she seems like she can't ever find it. And the two of them meet, and this is their story, or their romance, of them getting together, of them figuring things out, and then also figuring out where they fall together. It was beautiful. Oh my gosh. And I think the reason this worked so incredibly well is because Nina LaCour took so much time building up each of these stories. And I know when I say that, a few of you might be like, oh, that sounds boring. It wasn't, though. It was so engaging. It was so exciting to see them each grow on the page, see where they came from, see where they are now, and all the hard work, and then to just put them together. Instead of it being like a romance heavy book, it was more about each of their journeys and then their journey together. And I think that was a really, really good decision. It just worked so well, and Nina LaCour made me love both of these characters so much. I related to each of them in different ways, and it made me just so connected to each of them. Nina LaCour is so good at writing trauma and just making it blossom on the page. I was just so blown away with how beautifully this was done. This is sapphic, but I wouldn't say it's very detailed. Yeah, we're not getting like full smut scenes or anything like that. I think it was very beautifully done. But yes, I absolutely loved this. I gave this 5 stars, and I adore Nina LaCour for this book. Okay, this is the last one. It's All the Missing Girls by Megan Miranda. This was for my book club. This is the one that I was just so on the fence about. I just don't know how I feel about it. I still don't know how I feel about it. So, premise, we have a young woman that left her town, went to college, like never looked back. Now all of a sudden she has to go back to help her brother deal with their father that's having a lot of like Alzheimer's type issues. And she goes home to help him ultimately like close the house and sell it and all this stuff. So, something that she didn't ever tell anybody after she left the town was that her best friend went missing when, like, the last night of their senior year or something like that. Like, they were all out having a good time. There was an altercation, and a very public one, and then she went missing. There was a huge investigation and everything, and basically everybody in the town took sides on how this all turned out. And now she's back. There's all this history, there's all this trauma, gossip, and she's there for a couple days, and then her ex-boyfriend, who she's had an on and off thing with, his girlfriend ends up missing too. And this is just the whole story of like where she went, what happened to her, and then also we're getting the backstory of what happened to the missing friend from high school. So, things I liked about this book. I thought the thriller aspect of it was really working, like the mystery thriller of it, and like the whole story together, I thought was done really well. And the ending was not at all what I was expecting. Okay, so we did get some good twists in there. We got some good chemistry on the page. I think the characters were done really well. My biggest beef with this book is the way that they formatted it. And I know why they formatted it that way. Like, I really do. If you've read this book, then you would understand what I'm talking about, but I did not dig the formatting. I really didn't. I know they did it that way because they wanted it to be more thrilling and more exciting, and I think it did help. But then when I was completely done with it, I was like looking back, and I was just having so much trouble putting everything together, and like I wasn't even having a good time with it because I was just struggling so much with it that I wasn't even having that good of a time. I was just trying to keep up with what was happening, and since it was all happening the way that it was, the way that they formatted it, I was literally lost most of the time. I was like, I'm just going to keep reading, and eventually everything's going to come together. And eventually everything did come together, but it felt like such a chore to read this book. And then by the time I was done with it and I kind of put all the pieces together, I just started questioning, like, why did this character do this if she already knew that? There was a lot of those where I was like, why did she do it like that? Why did she make those decisions if she already knew this thing? So yeah, I struggled quite a bit with this book. I initially wanted to give it the 4 stars because, like I said, the twist was really good. I thought that ultimately the storyline was done really well, and I liked the characters on the page, and I thought that the whole premise of the book was really interesting. But when I look back on it now, I'm like not excited about this book at all. Like, it felt so messy. Like I said, I struggled. It felt like a chore. So I gave it 3 stars. I just don't think it was for me. And I've actually read another Megan Miranda book. I think it's like The Last House Guest or something like that. And I also rated that 3 stars because I also had just comprehension issues. So I feel like this is something that I might struggle with her books in general. And like that other book too, The Last House Guest, I really liked that book. Like, the twist was really good. Didn't see any of it coming. The formatting for me on that one was also difficult. Like, when I look back on it now, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why it was so difficult for me. The formatting was very difficult, and I think the same thing happened here. The formatting was just not for me. I'll be interested to see what everybody else says about this one, because this is for my book club, so yeah. I wonder if anybody else struggled like I did, or if it was just me. It might have just been me. But yeah, I think the thriller aspect was good. The formatting was not for me. Okay, that's all I have for you guys today. That was everything I read in May. I'm already excited about my June lineup. I really am. Like, when I was doing the Maybe series last week, I remember thinking, I don't know how I'm going to choose. Well, the library helped me choose a lot because a lot of the books I was looking for they didn't have, or they weren't available right now, so they're gonna get pushed aside, you know, if I can get them later. But yeah, I basically just had to take what I could get from the library, and I am really happy with the lineup, so I'm excited to share those with you. Make sure you hit all the buttons down below so you know when I'm posting. I post every week, and yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know what you read in May, or if you read any of the books that I read in May, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!